Okay, everybody, welcome to the I'm Clifford Today show. I'm Clifford Today, and you're not, and these guys are not that I'm joined by today. I'm sure you guys missed them in the last episode because I kicked them off the show for an episode, but they're back. At least two of them are. JP is not with us, but he is with us in spirit. I'm acting like he died or something. He's not dead. He's not dead, but he'll be back. Today we are joined by Joshua here. Joshua, say hi. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello. Glad to be back. Joshua Morgan, and I am the avid Skillet fan on this podcast. So this will be needed today. But yes.
Just wanna set the record straight,
Yes.
just in case John
Team
Cooper's
Pinhead.
watching.
Yes.
Well, I mean, just to clarify, there's not really going to be a lot of Skillet hate from me today.
Oh, no.
There's going to be a lot
cool
more
with it.
Skillet positivity in this episode.
Oh, sweet.
So, welcome, Josh, and hello, Nick Gundy. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I am a recovering panhead, but I relapsed this week.
Oh, I mean, I guess that's the same for me. I guess I used to be a panhead. Well, we're praying for you.
Thank you.
What was it? You just gotta pray to accept the things you cannot change and the courage to know the different. Oh wait, no, what was it? I used to know the prayer of serenity. That's in like AA meetings and Celebrate Recovery. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things that I can, and the courage to know the difference. I might have butchered that. I could try to do the whole thing.
Good going. Okay, guys. Clifford ruined everything. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah. I lost all 500 of my subscribers.
Oh, dang.
Which, by the way, again, thanks again for 500 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough. Today we got a couple big things to talk about, as we have hinted at already. We're going to be talking about John Cooper from Skillet and his conversation on the BlackSheep Podcast. Yeah, I used to have some. I had some friends when I was in this school of ministry. They were big fans of Skillet, and it kind of became this ongoing joke where we pronounced it Skillet instead of Skillet. And it got to the point whenever we would like pronounce it right, we would say Skillet. They'd be like, "What? Excuse me, Clifford? What are you talking about? Are you talking about a cooking pan? Oh, you mean the band Skillet? Oh, okay. That's okay. Just wanted to correct you. It's Skillet." So
just like how people say Target.
Yeah, Target. Yeah, so original. But yeah. It was a big surprise that John Cooper appeared on the BlackSheep Podcast, so we're going to talk about how that conversation went. But we also, before we get to that, we're also going to be talking about some big, like, who knows what's going on with As I Lay Dying and Tim Lambesis and all of that. You guys know that As I Lay Dying kind of is a big... and kind of a big deal for this channel because a few years ago I did a documentary on As I Lay Dying, and it was one of the best performing videos. Well, it's a video series. I should have done one whole video rather than 3 parts, but it did really well, and so I'm kind of attached to the story now. With despite not even being a big As I Lay Dying fan in the first place, but I'm invested in the story, so we got to talk about it. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that, and then we've got my humble opinion at the end. We're going to be reviewing some new albums, Anthem Sprinter by John Van Deusen, Persona by Half Alive, and a new EP by SOWER, The Seed, and a new single from Paul Meany, Fear on Your Side. So stick around at the end, and you'll hear our humble opinions on those. And before we get to all that, today we are joined by Babel by Mumford & Sons, the Grammy Award-winning record breaking, but big kind of standout album for Mumford & Sons. It kind of got their foothold in the mainstream, and I love it. I think it's great. I still think that Sigh No More, their debut album, is my favorite from them, but Babel is pretty tight and has some of my favorite songs, and yeah. So I don't know. You either of you guys big Mumford & Sons fans?
Not as big as you are.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, probably not.
I love their songs, but
Yeah.
just don't listen to them a lot.
Yeah. It's impossible to be a bigger fan than I am. So, but yeah, cool. I think there's not really a whole lot of housekeeping to get to today because we only had one comment on the last video. For those of you guys who missed it, I shared my favorite Christian albums of all time, and it was 500 subscribers special. Again, thank you. And got a comment from our very own Nick Gundy. He says, "Long live," with a bunch of salute emojis in parentheses to the band, not that album. Which I don't know why you would. Are you saying that you don't like the album, but you like the band?
Oh no, I love the album. I was just being specific. I just had to be specific on what I was saying.
Yeah,
because that wasn't on your list.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wasn't trying. I had to emphasize what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to say that Long Live is better than their final album. So I was just like trying to make sure I wasn't critiquing your top 10 list.
Well, thank you for that clarification. Long Live is a great album, and if it wasn't for One Wing, Long Live would be their best album, in my opinion. But they just decided to end their career with a bang with One Wing. So, in my opinion, personally,
yeah. And then like a little side comment. Speaking of the Chariot, for some of us that are on the audio feed Facebook group, they recently did a poll about the impromptu, the front porch / open mic stage that the festival has.
Oh yeah.
And they did a poll about what kind of cover band that people would like to see, and then surprisingly, to my surprise, the Chariot so far has had the most votes. And then the other band that had the second most was Family Force 5.
Wait, really? I thought that last time I checked, I thought that Me Without You was second, but I think Family Force 5 was added after I saw it. That would be fun.
My surprise, because, to my surprise, I'm still surprised that people voted for the Chariot stuff, because straight up, because like I just wanted the band part of it just to be a one and done thing. But since I've done it 2 years in a row, that everyone's holding me hostage. Now I got to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's a tradition now. It's an audio feed tradition.
What have I done? Guys, what have I done? I keep causing mayhem.
Well,
I keep causing mayhem everywhere.
It's the Chariot's fault for breaking up. I mean,
it's their fault.
Yeah. So basically,
the spirit
having
of the Chariot
cover, having a Chariot cover band is like the next best thing. Well, actually, probably the third best thing, because seeing 68 live would be pretty sweet. So, it's like the third best thing.
I've put them, I've put them on my list of bands that I want to see at audio feed.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, they got to have a reunion sometime. Apparently, at Furnace Fest, Norma Jean did They did, what it was one of their they did one of their early songs, and Josh Skogan came up and led it. So
and everybody absolutely lost it right at the first few words, like the stage. Because like for people, if you haven't seen YouTube videos on it, on that monumental moment for Norma Jean, right as he screamed his first one, everyone just piled up on stage.
They just lost it. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't know the last time that Josh Skogan would have shared the stage with Norma Jean. But yeah, a lot of history right there. It's so cool that like the Chariot and sorry, we're talking about Chariot right now, but like Chariot and Norma Jean and 68, like the whole history that they have tied together. It's pretty cool. So, I mean, it's no wonder that I love all three of those bands. So,
yeah. It's all Josh Skogan. He loves Josh Skogan.
Skogan?
Skogan.
Well, honestly, I've gone back and forth. I don't know if it's Skogan or Skogan. For the longest time, I called him Skogan, but then I heard someone say Skogan at one time. I was like, oh, maybe that's it. So I don't know. It might as well be Skogan.
Yeah. Yeah. I was also trying to think. I know that 68 will be playing in Chicago next Saturday at Reggie's Kitchen. I was there. I actually went to that venue 2 years ago for Primitive Man, which was fun to see. And I was trying to think. I got recruited to play at Bloodline Fest next weekend.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have to see if I can make it.
I'm doing double. Yeah. I was gonna be doing double duty. Now I'm doing triple duty. So sorry everybody. I'll finish up. So
you're good.
Plainly, what'll be happening next weekend? I'm going to be doing a soul set, which will probably be either a Midwest emo/emo melody, or break out my little mixer and just do another karaoke set. And then
the other.
Oh yeah, and then I'm filling in on bass for a friend's band, and I'm wondering if I should. I mean, I think they're fine for me if I say it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And then I'm going to help them play in Chicago the following day.
Who is it? Were you going to say?
No.
Okay. It's a big secret.
It's not Meadows.
Oh.
It's not Meadows. I'll say that.
Okay. That's what
it's going to be fun watching.
Was.
No. I don't know their stuff well. They are fun. And
yeah, they are a good band.
I'm going to help. Yeah. And then I'm going to help run sound for one of the stages for a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah. I wondered, because I wondered if the 23rd was Saturday or Sunday, but it's Saturday. So I'm definitely going to make 68 by a day. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I know I'm going to have fun next weekend. Anyway.
Yeah, as long as they're still around. They're not going to quit all of a sudden. Hopefully not. Yeah. But, so yeah, if you guys, where is Bloodlines held again? Is it Indiana?
South Bend, Indiana. So it's super north Indiana.
Yeah. So if you guys are in the area, go check out Bloodlines Fest. I've been meaning to check it out myself. So we'll see if I am able to go out there at least for a day. You know, Indiana's not too far. It's like a few hours probably. So cool. Well, that's exciting, man. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
And yeah, I would. The thing is I don't really like driving to Chicago anymore. I used to go out to Chicago to see bands, but I don't know. Chicago's very sketchy. And so, and I don't like driving in it too. I hate driving in big cities. I've almost died there. I got confused. I got confused as to where the red light, and I completely blew a red light and so I almost died.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
maybe one of these days I'll be
driving
brave
around there
enough.
is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm used to it, so.
Well, good for you. All right. Well, let's get moving on then. That's housekeeping and all the stuff. And oh wait, you know what? Before we actually do get around to it, I do want to talk about the Patreon stuff because since I mentioned it in the last episode. So in case you guys missed it, I am doing like a soft reboot, as the industry calls it, of my Patreon. And it's I'm opening it up to just $1 a month. That's really all it is, and got a bunch of fun stuff planned. But one thing that we'll be doing is a segment called the bonus tracks, which will basically be me and the co-hosts and or whoever is able to stick around for any longer, just kind of just some extra material, and we'll see what we talk about in that segment. There'll be other stuff, some other exclusive stuff that I want to put up. I've thought about like doing either listening streams or like listening videos where I'm like listening to the music that I'm reviewing, because I can't really do that on like YouTube or anything. I'll get copyright stricken. Stuff like that. Maybe like some early access uploads. A lot of fun stuff. I'll keep you guys updated whenever that happens. But yeah, patreon.com/I'm Clifford today. You can check out the bonus tracks after this episode. And I thought the bonus tracks was an appropriate title for it because back in the day, people don't really do it that much anymore. But sometimes artists would release an album and they would have these bonus tracks on them. And they were basically for tracks that they're like, yeah, we know that this song doesn't really fit on the album, but we still wanted to release it anyway. So we're just going to label it a bonus track so that, people know that it's like, yeah, it doesn't really fit, but here you go. So I thought that was an appropriate title. So, yeah, should be fun. All right. Let's get into a little bit of controversy with As I Lay Dying. So yeah, like I said before, years ago, I did this As I Lay Dying documentary series because, everyone knew the controversy with Tim Lambesis, hiring a hitman on his wife or attempting to hire a hitman. And the whole fallout with that. But then all of a sudden the band was back together. And me not really being a big As I Lay Dying fan, I was just kind of like on the outside looking in. I was like, I wonder what the story is behind it. And as I was looking into it, I thought this would be a very interesting episode or documentary or whatever. And I did it. And for those of you who have seen it, spoilers, the end of it ends on a pretty positive note, because the band is back together, and it seems that, there was this whole emotional video that the band released of them talking about, them making amends with Tim Lambesis, and they're like crying on the video, and it's so like emotional. It's like, oh man, this is so awesome. And so I was like, it seems that all things are good with As I Lay Dying. And that's basically how the video ended. Well, unfortunately, sometimes with life, we get the sequel that we don't want. And ever since then, things have just been kind of falling apart. Even before all the recent controversy, their band members were already leaving. So I've gone to a very reliable source to kind of summarize what's been going on, Wikipedia. But as far as I know, Wikipedia, I mean, this is does a pretty good job at like talking about what's been going on. So we're going to start off with, I guess first of all, Nick and Josh, were either of you guys big As I Lay Dying fans?
No, I was just a fan of one album. The Human album with John Cooper and Lacey Stern featured on
Okay.
it. So outside of that,
Oh,
that was
I didn't even
literally,
know that was a thing.
yeah,
Huh.
that was literally, I found him through John Cooper because he was featured on there, so it came up on
Wow.
on the list, and then Lacey came up later. Then so that's literally the only album that I'm familiar with as a lay down. Then as
Wow.
soon as I got into it, the whole controversy with his ex-wife, so I
Yeah.
was like, I'm done. But I like that album, so yeah, I'm
Sure.
not a big fan of them. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
and
all a bit interesting.
yeah, a lot of people felt that way. Even when the band came back together, some people were still skeptical. I was hopeful. Like I hope that they've gotten, that Tim has actually had a change of heart and that he's gone through a change of character. And I mean, I guess the reason why we're talking about As I Lay Dying on this channel is that, they started out as a Christian band. And there was even before the controversy, Tim was being very outspoken about how his beliefs were changing and such. But when the band came back together, it's like, well, is he a Christian again? Is the band Christian? Because from my perspective, I was like, I don't know how you can like go through this whole ordeal and like forgive each other without Christ being present. But that was all just speculation. I never knew for sure. But either way, the band has history in Christian music, so that's why we're talking about it. But yeah, a lot of fans were like, no, I'm out. This whole thing is just sketchy." So I understand that. Nick, were you ever a big fan?
For a brief time in high school,
Yeah.
so I liked some of their stuff, and then right as the first article that I saw that Tim Lambesis did all the sketchy stuff, steroids, the hitman who's an undercover detective, blah 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 blah, and then I was like, no,
Yeah.
no thank you.
Too much. Too much to deal with.
So yeah, and then like however many years ago that I revisited one of their stuff, I'm like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It don't sit well.
Yeah,
So
just with their music, it was never really my style of metal that I really cared
yeah, me
for.
neither.
I mean, I know that they were, they were a pretty big deal in the scene, kind of pioneers in a way, because they were one of the biggest bands at the time that did what they did. So I understand the like legendary, I guess, legacy that they have. I think it's funny that they both of these conversations that we're talking about kind of are a little connected just because John Cooper is on there. But yeah, okay. Well, let's just go through the history. I mean, I'm not going to go way back. Like most people already know, Tim Lambesis hired a hitman. Attempted to hire a hitman to have his wife offed. Turned out that it was an undercover detective, which I still don't really understand how, like, why there was an undercover detective. But either way, that happened. He ended up getting going to trial and like going to prison for a few years. He came back and he made amends with his band again. He even got remarried. That's another part of this story. He got remarried to someone that he met while he was in prison. I don't remember if she was at the prison with him or I think he just met her. Like they like connected while he was in prison. But he ended up getting married in prison. He gets out on like good behavior or something. And the band gets back together, they let bygones be bygones. And it seemed that everything was okay. Well, then at some point, I know that he ended up getting divorced with that woman and then remarried, but that's not really covered in this Wikipedia article. But Let's see. Oh, yeah. On August 15th, 2020, it was reported that Nick Hipa might have left the band. And he was a guitarist, as he no longer performed with him and disassociated his personal social media accounts with the band. Hipa officially confirmed his departure 1 year later on August 31st, 2021, noting that behaviors resulting from being in the band led to his decision to leave it. Quote, "There is tremendous good that can be accomplished through singular focus on the power of music. However, to my memory and recent experience, it comes at the cost of tolerating behavior which at times mistreats, disrespects, and hurts other people," unquote. He further elaborated that the power and reasoning behind As I Lay Dying's reunion had faded in favor of superficial pursuits which he did not wish to be a part of. So basically what he's saying that, like, yeah, things are feeling pretty good when we got back together, but now, other motivations have taken over the band. On May 16th, 2022, it was announced that bassist and clean vocalist Josh Gilbert left the band after 15 years. The band announced Ryan Neff from Miss May I would play bass on their upcoming tour. Around the same time, it was announced Unearth guitarist Ken Suzy would play guitar on the band's upcoming tour as replacement for Hipa. Suzy would later leave Unearth and join As I Lay Dying as a full-time member, as announced on March 3rd, 2023. On March 9th, 2022, drummer Jordan Mancino announced he will be sitting out of the band's upcoming tour dates due to, quote, "a number of ongoing internal issues that have not been resolved." Drummer Nick Pierce, also formerly of Unearth, was announced as the band's live drummer for their upcoming tour. A week later, the band claimed Mancino, quote, excommunicated himself from the band, unquote, and that moving forward with him, quote, was the only option, unquote, implying he was no longer in the band. And when that happened, that was like a big deal because from my research in the band, Jordan Mancino and Tim Lambesis were like best friends. They were like the two founding members of As I Lay Dying. I think they like went to school together, but they basically formed the band together. And so that was a big deal when that came out. Skipping ahead because there's a bunch of album stuff. On October 18th, 2024, Ryan Neff announced his departure from the band, citing a need to benefit his, quote, personal and professional journey, unquote. Just 6 days later, Ken Suzy and Nick Pierce also announced their departures from the band, stating that their, quote, personal morals have been tested to a breaking point, unquote, and needing to preserve, quote, personal health and integrity, unquote. Sorry if the quote and unquote is annoying people, but, I'm reading an article, so that's basically what it is. In conjunction with Pierce and Suzy, the band's touring manager resigned as well, effectively canceling the planned European tour of the album. On October 30th, Phil Scrosso, who was also an original forming member of the band, announced his departure from the band, adding that the band, quote, no longer offers a healthy or safe environment for anyone involved, unquote, and that he could not, quote, enable further actions that could negatively affect anyone working within this space, unquote, leaving Tim Lambesis the sole remaining member of the band. Lambesis addressed the situation on November 4th, 2024, agreeing with what was said and adding, "I can stick strong to my vision for the future of As I Lay Dying, even when others think it should go another direction. It saddens me to think about the behaviors, communication, and patterns of interaction that led up to the tour cancellation. I fully support each of the guys' decisions to leave and believe at this time it is best for everyone. With that being said, my door will always remain open to discussing anything directly, as I believe closing communication lead to many assumptions and problems of its own." Lambesis also stated that he intends to continue As I Lay Dying with a more positive and collaborative environment. A week later, he announced their participation in the Welcome to Rockville Festival taking place on May 16th, 2025 in Daytona Beach, Florida. The fifth single from Through Storms Ahead, titled The Void Within, was released on November 13th, 2024. So that all happens. Everyone leaves him. And it's like, well, what else? It can't get any worse than that. But
it does.
Just yesterday, Nick shared this article with us. There is more. Because for those of you who don't know, Tim Lambesis also has had this side project, Austrian Death Machine, which I also forgot was a band. For some reason, I was thinking that it was a solo project, but no. There is another member of Austrian Death Machine, and he announced that he's leaving that band. And everyone's like, oh, wow, I almost forgot about Austrian Death Machine. So this is from lambgoat.com. Austrian Death Machine's Brandon Short exits amid As I Lay Dying controversy. Austrian Death Machine drummer Brandon Short has officially announced his departure from the band. In a statement left on social media, he said stepping away is necessary for his mental health and personal beliefs, particularly in light of recent matters involving the As I Lay Dying camp and Tim Lambesis, the sole remaining member after the recent exit of all his bandmates. Short reflected on the emotional difficulty of this decision, noting that being part of a project he once admired deeply has been a profound experience for him. However, he indicated that the situation had become untenable. Short says ultimately his integrity and character felt compromised amid the developments he witnessed, leading to a loss of trust and his decision to leave. And it shares the whole statement from him on social media. You guys can read that. I'm not going to get into that right now because I've done a lot of reading already. But yeah, so everyone is abandoning Tim Lambesis, and I think it's interesting with his statement is that he's trying to make it seem like, oh yeah, I totally respect their decision. It's like almost as if oh yeah, we're cool, and I understand it. Everything's all good, guys. Trust me. But it's like from the outside looking in,
he's lying through his teeth.
It seems like it, because it would be one thing if it was like, oh, I think it's just it could be like a misunderstanding, but it's the fact that everyone is leaving him, and even members of his side project are leaving him. It's like, what is going on? So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
It's either he's lying or he's misunderstanding the situation, or he's trying to gaslight the press about the actual matters. It's not his fault.
Yeah, he just wants to save face and let his fans know hey guys, everything's all good. I wish the one frustrating thing about this is how, and I get it, there might be, everyone just probably doesn't want to dive deep into the drama, if it's not that necessary, especially if certain people are involved or whatever. But it's it's kind of frustrating how vague everyone is with their statements of leaving the band. What do you mean you had to leave because of your mental health or your beliefs? What do you mean that it's unhealthy in the band? Just say it. I mean, there's a part of me that's just lay it all out. Just let us know. Is Tim still a wannabe murderer or whatever? What's going on? So, Josh, what are your thoughts?
I think that's my biggest problem. Is how vague it is. I don't know how to feel because it could range from, oh, I just have a difference in opinion on how I want the band to play, music style or something like that, or it could be more severe. Like he could literally be manipulative, abusive, verbally, emotionally, all that stuff. So like, because like you just stated, everyone's vague in their response. I think this most recent post was a little bit more descriptive, but even then, his reasons are still vague on what actually happened. And we probably never get it from Tim. We probably can't trust it. So it's just as fans, or even in this case, just trying to get information. It's like I don't even know what to feel or what to think about it because I don't know what's going on. Like I get it that they may not be able to speak, but it's like everyone's saying the same things. So it's just like when you got classmates copying the same homework and like, oh, what'd you say? Just twist words here and there. So this is like I want to respect their feelings and their decisions, but at the same time, I don't know what to do with it. So it's kind
Yeah.
of confusing and, like you said, frustrating. And then at the end, I want to make a clarification. I misspoke on the album. I was thinking of "We as Human" because that's
We as Human.
yeah, that's because it was the same thing with the lead singer, not trying to kill, but I have an affair with the marriage.
Yeah.
So that
Oh,
was
I am unaware of that.
I remember meeting the band back when they did I forgot what it was called, Circus Tour. It had them open. It was We as Human, In This Moment, Skillet, Papa Roach, and Shinedown.
Yeah.
So I liked We as Human.
Okay.
Like before I found out about the affair, and it was the same thing. So I was like, oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, so that's why I got those two bands mixed up, because when I was listening to We as Human, and then when it came out about him, they were like, oh, this is another As I Lay Dying Down situation. And it was like literally 2 years from each other. So that was my fault for getting the confusing. So,
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I am completely unaware of that story.
Yeah.
I can't believe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe As I Lay Dying kind of overshadowed it.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, probably did.
And it just wasn't. He didn't try to kill his wife. He just had
an affair. Yeah,
not just an affair, but he had an affair with a fan. As it would just get him more popular. So they only have one album and 2 EPs.
I remember them.
Yeah.
Didn't they have the song like Zombie or something?
Yes, that's the one with John Cooper. That's
gotcha. Yeah, when you said John Cooper, I was like, John Cooper really on an As They Lay Dying?
No, but the situation is so similar and so close to each other that when I hear one band and the other, they overlap.
Gotcha.
So that's my fault, but yeah.
Okay, that's okay. We probably already have had comments on the video before they got to this part. So
yes. I'm sorry, fans.
I don't know. I think I randomly thought about We as Human again yesterday on my drive when I was re-listening to the John Cooper interview, which we'll talk about later. So I was like, wow, what about that? Yeah, so I was listening to, it was like a few weeks ago when I found these videos started popping up on YouTube, so I was listening to those interviews at work, where it's like everybody is just like to clarify, it's not just Joshua or me. Like legitimately, almost everybody is curious about what the heck the circumstances are, and we can only speculate and come up with theories. But I'm more with Joshua's theories on the latter, that it's probably emotional abuse.
Yeah, I think
on a different level, probably because it's like the only thing that we can all speculate is that Tim Lambesis' psychological mental state is definitely not the same as it was before and after prison, and whatever reasons, it's still vague. I think it's still more. I think it's like all of the previous members are bound to a certain, or probably bound to a certain type of contract. So like they're, in a way, they could. Now this is my speculation. They could be legally binded to not say anything until a certain term of it is over. That's one possibility. Or it actually does indirectly involve the people in a certain way. So it's like kind of like it's kind of like a take a shift where it could be like, where's Clifford?
We'll try to keep going.
We'll keep going. So my theory is whatever it could be, if Tim would be, my idea. I could be wrong. I'm still willing to be wrong about it all anyway. That like Tim Lambesis still has everybody bound to a chain. That's like, if I go down, you're all going down.
Yeah.
So it could be that circumstance. It could be that situation as to why no one's really explaining it.
Yeah.
At this moment.
Yeah. It all calls in question, because like you said, it was speculated, like it started off, rumors were like, oh, he did something to his new wife, but she had to put a statement out saying she and him are good and she's not involved. So but with it being so vague and stuff, like you still question, like, I know she put a statement out, but like, is it good or stuff like that? But because we don't know anything, like I'm questioning everything. Like, obviously, it's something with Tim Lambesis. So like, but what? Like, does he need to go back to jail? Is it just business problems? Like, we don't know. And I hope we get in the future. We get the answer. Like you said, I hope it does come out. But.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, like, one of those. It could be the video that I sent to our group chat, or another one that talked about, if everybody left, and it could be a safety issue. Why wouldn't they already put out a statement along with the reasons why, like, we should encourage people just like to stay away from Tim for all these because like here's why we left. This.
Yes, so any other bands don't join him because he's not healthy right now. Like, we don't.
Yeah, like, not just band members, but like also merch people, tour crew, bus drivers, etc. So it's like, if they're like, if you know a place, like, if you know a certain building has if you know a certain place has black mold, don't go to the place that has black mold. If you leave that if you leave out that information, then there's a risk of exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like,
you don't just say don't go to that house. You tell them, like, oh, there's black mold house. Don't go
why?
There. Yeah, it's like, So I don't know. Yeah. Like, that's why I don't want to downplay it if it's really bad. That's why I'm thinking, leaning more towards business conflict and disagreement. Because if it's really, really a bad situation where, like I said, they're litigating for verbal abuse or something like that, I don't want to play victim blaming, but I'm like, if everyone's leaving in a short span after each other, there should be a bigger warning or something like, hey, stay away. Or if it's like they had an intervention and he didn't listen, so they're like, okay, we gotta like just help out any future parties that may be involved. Like, he's not good. Like, that's all we ask. Like, I hope everyone who's involved gets the healing they need, and they get better and they get more prosperous careers. But
Joshua,
this hush hush is
not
doing
pretty good.
Yeah,
he's been doing good in Spirit Box.
Yeah, I'm glad he's doing good there, and hope he continues. And the other bands find healthier places to play. But yeah, it's just for health, safety reasons. Like, just give us a little bit more awareness. At least give us a category of what we're actually dealing with, so we know how to proceed. That's all I got on that. But
it's like more for the. It's like there's been concern, like I said, for the safety of everybody involved.
Yeah.
So like if we know, like if people know what's going on, the faster the blackballing can happen.
Yeah.
Not to tear, because like we ain't trying. Because like for us, we know we ain't Tim Lambesis haters.
No. Oh.
We have great. We're just concerned for him as well as everybody else. If we all know, then
Yeah. Yeah. Like
yeah, we still.
they just dropped a new album. I don't know how I should feel listen to it because I don't know how the contract's being written. I don't know if the foreign bands. I don't know. Like, is Tim Lambesis just gonna get all the profits from it, or like so? If they still gonna get profit, I would listen to it. But if it was a unhealthy, toxic conflict and it's emotional drain for them, then I don't know. Like, I just don't know how to support. Like, just let us know how to help you. Like, help all of the ex members, help Tim Lambesis. Like, I don't know. So it just our hands are tied. We're in the dark and just yeah. So that's all I gotta say on that situation.
Yep, that's all. That's it on my part.
Yeah.
Okay,
he said his internet went out. Give him a second. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm back. I'm back for now.
All right. Yay.
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with our internet in this area.
That's all right. We gave all of our thoughts.
We can move on now. 1 second. I'm going to text my mom.
So we wrapped up our thoughts around 47 minutes.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure they were good thoughts. We don't. I guess we'll just. We can conclude it in a minute. I mean, I guess there's not really a whole lot to say about it. Because it all, like you said, it all is just speculation, and it's like, we don't know what we don't know, and I don't think that it's the case that like Tim has gone back to being a psychotic, wannabe murderer, because I feel like we would hear about that. That wouldn't be something that they would want to keep private. So it does just seem to be some like just personal stuff, and maybe there's just maybe Tim should have spent maybe a little longer in prison. Just saying, maybe to just go through some more therapy. There's probably just some other undealt problems that he should deal with, because I hate to speculate, but it does seem that everyone is just cutting off from him, and he seems to be the one that everyone's pointing the finger at, whether they mean to or not. So yeah, I mean, if it was anyone else's problems, he would be like firing people, but everyone seems to be leaving of their own volition. So yeah, who knows? It's just kind of sad, because like, with the whole documentary that I made and everything, you want things to be a happy ending, but sometimes that's just not the case. And I have been considering, maybe I'll wait a little longer until more news comes out, but I've been considering making a sort of sequel to this whole situation, because now everyone's just going to find the video and be like, haha, he had such positive things to say, now look what's happened since. So yeah, I don't like this, but we don't get the endings that we want all the time. Life is not always a 3-act story, with a happy ending. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. It's sad to see, but hopefully Tim gets the help that he needs. And yeah, that's about it. Cool. All right. Well, again, sorry for all the technical difficulties. Been having some internet connectivity issues here at my household. So fingers crossed it doesn't happen again today. But we're going to go into, I know you guys basically just had a break, but we're going to go into an ad break right now, and then we're going to come back talking about John Cooper on the BlackSheep Podcast, and it's going to be fun. So don't go away. Our internet's going to stay connected. We'll be right back. This time on the Podwood Forecast.
He does.
If you can't catch it, never go around it. Can't push me out of fighting.
Cough core.
Never gonna give it up. No. All right, next question. How old then in limit cut? What the?
4.
No, that is not an option.
Anyways, I was at lunch and I have like a very strong memory of legitimately getting in a fight with another kid. Not like a physical fight. We were like sitting, just like arguing over who was like a bigger Spyro fan. And one of my reasons for being the bigger Spyro fan was I told him, well, purple's my favorite color. And he was like, oh man, he's like, dang it, red is my favorite color. Shoot. And I was lying. Green was my favorite color, but I lived the lie of purple being my favorite color, and it is now
the truth come out on this podcast.
As a kid, it's my favorite color now. Darkness imprisoning me all around me.
Oh, I see absolute horror.
See, I don't know, for some
reason.
Listen
to the Podwood Forecast wherever podcasts are found. Guys, I just got done with a video call interview for the show, and I have to say that it was like the smoothest experience ever. Didn't have any issues or anything, and the video came out almost perfect. And do you know why? It's because I used Riverside. Riverside is your online recording studio where you can record a conversation with any guest online. You can easily record podcasts and videos in studio quality from anywhere, all from your browser or their mobile app. All you have to do is get your setup ready, send your guests a link for them to join, have them join from their phone or their computer, and just chat away. A lot of podcasts that you listen to are probably using Riverside, honestly. What sets Riverside apart is that a recording of your audio and your video is happening locally on your computer. So even if your connection isn't that good, it doesn't ruin the entire recording or anything. Once you've finished recording, you will get the individual tracks of each speaker and also a combined one. You'll receive all the raw files, including that Pepsi crystal clear uncompressed audio in up to 4K video. There's also lots of really cool features where you can edit your video right in their site. So, you're a YouTuber, a podcaster, or streamer, or a content creator of any kind, and you want to have high quality conversations with your guests, please use my link in the description and sign up for Riverside. If you want to support me in the channel, please use my link since I end up getting a cut from the sales. I'm not joking. Please support me. Sign up for Riverside and start recording today. Hey you. Are you a Christian artist, musical artist, or a musical artist who is a Christian? Well, you got music, you got music that you made, you got music that you're trying to get out there. Do you want it to be on my show? Well, it can be, and here's how. You go to the link in the description, submit a form, fill that all out, send me your music, and we'll get the song of your choice on this segment, the Spotlight segment, and the whole world will hear your music. And it's going to be great. And I'm out of breath for some reason. Be a Spotlight artist today.
Maybe not today, in the next episode. But it's going to be fun. It's completely free. All I ask is that you promote the show, promote the episode that your song is on, and that's it. That's all I ask. But I want to support you. I want to support other Christian artists and get your stuff out there. So, yeah, let's do it, baby. Spotlight artist, become one. Be it. That's the ad.
All right, we're back. We're back on the Clifford Today show. We are so back. I feel like I keep saying that. I feel a lot of people are saying that lately. Like, we are so back. Such a gamer thing to say.
Backstreet's back.
All right. That's funny because they were talking on the JFH podcast. They were talking about Backstreet Boys. I never really got into like boy bands, either NSYNC or Backstreet. I don't know. Not really my thing.
Dude.
I don't know. Will you count Fast Four 5 as a boy band, or were they just punk rock?
Well, I guess the definition of a boy band is that it's multiple vocalists.
Okay, then I guess Anthem Lights will be my boy band then.
Oh yeah, Anthem Lights.
Yeah.
A lot of K-pop and J-pop bands, boy bands are coming back.
Yeah.
Or, well, not coming back, but like bringing
Taking
back
over.
the boy band. Yeah. So.
I was trying to think one K-pop group. I was like, oh, the BTS.
Yeah, that's the big one. Yeah, that's the one that everyone knows. Even I know it, and I'm not really into K-pop. There's like one band there's one song, I don't even remember what the name. Some of these like K-pop bands, they have such interesting names where they sound like something from a spy movie.
Yeah.
Like K-19 whatever, so I don't really remember the name of the group, but there's a song called Highway to Heaven that I actually think is pretty good. So look up Highway to Heaven K-pop. I don't remember the name of the group. All right, so today we're just talking all things like metal and hard rock on this episode, and we're going to be talking about the BlackSheep Podcast and their conversation with John Cooper, which I think is interesting because just a few episodes ago we had an episode where we talked about, there were like two different topics that we talked about. We talked about Skillet and their new song, Unpopular. We gave our thoughts on that. Well, I guess it was just me and JP on that episode. But unrelated, we talked about Aaron Stone from My Epic being on the BlackSheep Podcast. Little did we know that those two topics were going to meet eventually. And because I follow them on Twitter, and once they shared a screenshot of them talking to John Cooper, and I was like, oh. So I was like, we're definitely going to be talking about this whenever it comes out. And so this came out a few weeks ago, and I just thought it was a very interesting conversation. It was worth talking about. It's a short conversation. It's not as long as their other usual conversations, because I'm sure John Cooper is a pretty busy guy, and so they only had a certain amount of time with him. But it's, if you were expecting a heated debate or anything on this episode, that's not what happens. And so, Josh, I'm curious. Did you get to? Yeah, I'm calling you out. Did you get to listen to the whole conversation?
I listened to all 36 minutes of it, or 32, one of those.
There
was,
you go.
Like you said, it was short.
My man.
Yeah, even in the one like on YouTube, the rolling comments. So one of the main ones was that how cordial and revered the conversation between the two were, given that they're two widely known positions, seemingly to be one progressive, one more conservative. But yeah, I really liked this interview that John Cooper
Yeah,
had.
me too.
Yeah,
It
me too.
it was you saw his more personal side, and then I follow Black Sheep on Twitter, both individual people, and
Mm.
I gained a newer respect for the host, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes with Twitter and social media in general, you really don't know the tone people have behind some of the words.
Yeah.
So I see some of his responses to people, and I can admit I don't agree with everything theologically he says or his point of view on certain
Mm-hmm.
things. But this conversation had gave me more respect for John Cooper, more respect for the host. Um, yeah, it is like it literally felt like brothers coming together, just having a nice conversation, getting a little bit better perspective on how they think process on conversations. I learned a lot of new things about John Cooper that I wasn't privy to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really
We
refreshing.
learned we learned that John Cooper would be a Malcolm X guy.
Yes, I was like, for me, I
Yeah,
was
I was like,
like,
huh?
oh well. And I was like, then with him, he said he wouldn't do the social, but he understood it, and
Yeah.
I think and him admitting that he has flaws in not listening and just sitting down to understand people's plight. And then also he clarified that he's not with a particular group, and he has issues with them. So it
Mm-hmm.
was, I think, for everyone involved. People who I know a couple of people on Twitter who have some issues with John, saying, "Oh, he just become a mouthpiece for the conservative right." He
Mm-hmm.
clarified his positioning, and I think they can find some. They're like, "Okay, you're closer to me than I thought you were," and then yeah, I think he just clarified a lot for everyone. So even if you're not the biggest fan of John Cooper, I think you like, okay, I get what you're doing. And then, um, yeah, I I really like this. I was like, good job, Black Sheep. I'm glad this happened. I'm glad this
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. It just goes to show that, because I think we also maybe spend a little bit too much time when we last talked about Skillet, like kind of harping on, not really, for me personally, not really on his beliefs, but more of his like approach to expressing his beliefs.
Mhm.
Um, I think because this is why I love like sit down conversations like that and like interviews, because you get to see a whole new side of people that you don't see on social media, or even like, because John Cooper has Cooper stuff where it's
Yeah,
just him talking to a camera. But I think having like an actual conversation brings a whole new different light to the person. And so you really get to see the human side of him. And I respect that a lot. And I think that and for both of the co-hosts as well,
yeah,
like you said, there is a lot that I do not agree, particularly with Mason. I'm a bit more
yeah,
familiar with Mason's beliefs
yeah,
because he's got like a whole YouTube channel and such. And to be perfectly honest, just from my point of view, he has many beliefs that I personally would label as heretical. Honestly,
yes,
I mean,
yeah,
and I'm not trying to like, just pick spicy words to label on him. That's just what I believe. But even before this interview, I gained a little bit more respect for him when he was on. He did a stream with Inspiring Philosophy, Mike
mhm,
Jones of
yeah.
Inspiring Philosophy. If you guys haven't heard of him, I would definitely recommend you check him
Nope.
out. He's a very intelligent and smart guy. And I guess he did a video where he was criticizing one of Mason's videos, and so Mason volunteered to come on a stream, and they had a conversation. It was very cordial, even though they came across some subjects that they definitely disagreed on. it was nice. So it's like, oh, okay, Mason at least is a decent human being at the very least. I may disagree with him on a lot, and he may have a lot of takes that are pretty fiery, but like when you have a sit down conversation with someone like that, you get to see a whole new side of them. And so I really respected that, and I have a lot more thoughts. But Nick, what were your thoughts on the conversation?
Yeah, so I still don't know much on their theological point of view for the two co-hosts, but that interview became my favorite interview of John Cooper that I've heard.
Yeah.
And like, granted, I haven't really listened to any of his interviews in a long time, forever, ever. And the first time I listened to that interview, I was getting my tattoo finished up, and I was like, I got time. I'll just sit down and listen.
There you
go. Or lay down. Sit down and listen, and I'm glad that some, like a Christian, or in particular a Christian music artist, is finally also acknowledging the waves of people because of the times, for like the dynamic in Western culture. A lot of Christians have reacted and start. He finally said it. He's one that finally said it. So it's not just me who's saying it, but he's also saying it, that so many Christians are seeing how things are changing and are not lined up very well, and started going back to actually opening up the history books and exploring other possibilities and understanding and getting back to the roots of church. Where is the church, and how do we reunite ourselves with it? So he's acknowledging how many people, and like, for anyone that's listened to my interview video with Cliff on Clifford's show, that like loads of people are gone to Roman Catholicism. I was in it briefly, and also be finding where the true church is, which is the Holy Orthodox Church. And he gave a shout out to Lacey Sturm, who I found out on my first listen that she and her husband Josh converted to Orthodoxy as well. I was like,
yeah, what? That was news to me.
Yeah, victory! I was like, what? Yeah. So so on my drive, I was like, what? All right, I gotta go find this. So I went to the Agent Faith YouTube channel. I found their second interview for the show, and I was wanted to hear her and Josh's story. They found it, but the priest host said that their stories on their first interview. So that was like 3 years ago. So I listened to that interview video on my drive here, so to get a glimpse of how Lacey and Josh found home as I did. I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome, super awesome. So yeah,
yeah, you guys so like, gained a couple new members.
Yeah, so as Nick stated, I also want to congratulate John. He, when not Mason, the other co-host, asked a question about modern church. John asked for clarification. He was like, what he mean by that? And he brought it up. He like, when you ask that question, different hosts, moderators have different definitions. So he just wanted to make sure where they were coming from, and I thought that was really good to like get clear communication between the two parties, because one side may mean a different thing than the other. So when you answer it, you come from your perspective, and so then that's how I think sometimes we get these clips from people who are speaking, then like, that's not what I meant, but because whoever presents the video and the presenter's position on it, you like, oh, see, they're anti this or anti that. I think the time constraint of the interview clearly John's finished doing things, stuff like that. I think they may wanted to go a little bit deeper on differences of
yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah, it felt like they were trying to go there, but you can't do much in 36 minutes. But
Yeah.
their bonding in the first half about the early years of rock, the early years of their experience with Skillet, and some of the things that he dealt with, I think was the um opening ground for them to have a conversation. Instead of just coming in like, okay, we're going 2024 John Cooper and Skillet. What are y'all doing? But going from the beginning, the rough upcomings and his experiences of who made John Cooper, I think helped them. Then just them, I think, like both of you said, just him being honest about his history, where he is, and just being vulnerable, and them being respectful of that, and just it made it really good. And I would like to see another interview between the two, hopefully longer. But yeah, when you see John Cooper on Fox, or more right wing spectrums, you get this picture of him, but he was like, yeah, I got problems on both sides, but I'll try. He tries his best to be more biblical based. He called it traditional, and I give that more power to him. And so
yeah,
and I liked how he called it. I liked how he called it as it was, an American religion, pretty much.
Then clearing up the
it's like
then clearing up the spiritual the enemy of the album, Revolution, was really big. Making it more spiritual based than political based, as some people were trying to make it because of how political outspoken he is. So
yeah, that was the thing that I like talking about. You know, revolution. You know, it's not a political revolution; it's a revolution of love. Even though, like, songs, I forget the name of the song, but the one where he's talking about my faith, my family, and freedom.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people who would sadly take that as a political statement, and you know, I guess in a way it is when you have a political movement that is very vehemently against that, against like family values and personal freedom and such. But you know, that just all comes. It's good to know that a lot of his beliefs, or at least all of his beliefs, are informed by his faith, and it's not informed by it's just because the Republican Party believes this or that, or MAGA believes this. It really comes from a biblical perspective, and I do appreciate that. And he didn't even he clarified. He's like, I've never like endorsed any president. I've never endorsed Trump or MAGA or anything. But he also didn't like bash it or anything. He's like, that's not what I'm about. And so I appreciate that perspective, and that's something that I try to have for myself. And it can be hard as someone who is very much plugged into the political dealings of our day. I get very invested, and sometimes I kind of have to stop myself a little bit.
Clearly, I think we're in agreement here. Like, America's done and still is doing a lot of horrible things. And so I think I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, well, I don't really necessarily want to go back to an America where we were doing those evil things, like something like slavery. So I'm just curious, like, maybe what your thoughts are on, like, when people say, like, let's go back to when America was great. Like, well, when was the time where we weren't doing some of these really evil things?
Yeah, fantastic question. And I don't want to make it sound like, that we would all necessarily agree on what those evil things are. In other words, I'm not trying to misrepresent myself so that you like me. We may disagree on some of those.
Totally.
Fine with me. And I also want to say I've never publicly supported Trump. I've never said make America great again. Just for the record. But yeah, my understanding of the MAGA movement. Actually, I don't want to speak for all of them, so I'll give you my personal opinion. What I think the sentiment means. I don't think it's choosing a date and saying, let's make America as if it's 1850 again, or 1780 again, or 1980 again. I think it's more saying, can we agree that the principles of America, 1776, say, can we agree that these principles are good? They are worth preserving. Now, what you have is, of course, the great, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting my name. Who was the slave that became a senator?
Hiram Revels.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm so annoyed. He's one of my favorite American heroes, and all of a sudden, I'll think of it in a second. I feel embarrassed. He's one of my heroes. Forgot his name, like a moron. But like he said, and then MLK later said, it's these principles that demand that slavery ends. It's these principles that demand that everyone is treated equal. These are great principles. So when I think, let's make America great again, which is something I don't say, by the way. But what I mean by that is, let's go back and agree that these principles are good, and let's preserve them. And that's where, for me personally, where I get things like freedom of speech, stop censoring people on social media, freedom of the press, stop saying that everything you disagree with is misinformation or disinformation. Sure. This unholy alliance that is happening between political parties and big tech, to do the bidding of the GOP or the DNC. Absolutely wrong. You end up getting into all sort of oligarchy and stuff like that. Freedom to chart your own course. And that is how I had kind of understood limited government, federalism. We're going to chart our own course, get the government out of my life, and respect other people's, when we talk about pursuit of happiness, we're really talking about you being able to chart your own course with your own business, private property. I think all those things are good. And so to me, it's not make America great again. Let's pretend it's 1788, 1776 again. It's let's preserve those things. And if we can do that, then I think that we could probably heal a whole lot of things. Not everything. Let's don't be ridiculous and naive, but we might be able to heal some things.
But yeah, there's a lot of respect there, and I also did appreciate like the clarification, because with certain terms, there is people can interpret things different ways, and so I was glad that they brought up those questions to have that conversation, and I think that John did a great job of answering them as well.
I do. I also agree with John's point where he was talking about when he said people are leaning towards more Catholic because it's traditional. He said people are just afraid or tired of the ever moving shift on what is basically right or acceptable in today's day. So they're just like, you keep moving the goalposts. So it makes sense why people do move to more traditional outlets, because it's pretty much set in the stone. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. That's not right biblically, but okay, not biblically all the way, but it is. It does. He has a pretty good view of what's going on in society, and that we heard on this podcast that we may not hear in other outlets just because of the echo chamber he may be around. So.
Yeah. And like even when I speak for myself, that like we converted, everyone's converting to the Catholics and the Orthodox for variety of reasons, not just for the sake of fighting or preserving traditional values, but just like if we want to reflect God and His Church, we need to keep and restore the values that binds people together, because truth and love binds everything. Because and like what I've mentioned long time ago, maybe several months ago, that like for finding orthodoxy, it's not just me finding truth, but it's also me. It was me trying to find who Christ is
Mm-hmm.
and to develop a better relationship with Him
Mm-hmm.
for who He is in all aspects. And then me learning how to live it out bit by bit, and because like there was a saying from a saint that for like whatever reasons people convert like to the Orthodox, convert for the someone says convert for the wrong reasons, but stay for Christ, because that's the center of it all.
Hmm.
Like, and there's and like when Christians from other points of I'll say from other points of view and different groups and stuff that like for the BlackSheep Podcast, for example, for their episode, they're they are Christians in their own right, or for my point of view, they are heterodox Christians. They believe in Christ, they desire Christ, but they're still incomplete own personal things that are bind to earthly things, because like I'm still empathetic to both of their sides, because for the podcast hosts' beliefs, I used to believe in those things that they believe. Probably not every single thing on their list, and I still hold up to some things John Cooper believes.
Yeah.
But like those equally all those things I'm still repenting from. That like I think like the overall desire that like for that example that both parties want, I think they all just want to make sure everyone is well taken care of and treated well.
Yeah.
But we can do that when Christ says that He prays for that we all become of one mind, of one truth, of one way, in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that requires humility.
Yeah.
That requires changing of mind.
Yeah, and at the very least, just like for the good of society. For me, like knowing, because I know that like Mason believes in, I think it's called open theism, where basically he believes that God changes, he changes his mind, so that's why it's easy for him to like not really believe everything in the Bible, because like the God of the Old Testament isn't the same God of today. And I'm sorry, but in my opinion, that's heretical. And
that is a heresy.
And so whether Mason is actually, an actual Christian or not, I would dispute that. But that all aside, at the very least, for the good of society, we need to treat each other like human beings. And they talk about that with when John was talking about like reaching out to people, whether they believe the same things or not. Like it's all about finding common ground in foundational beliefs, at least in American principles. And I think they found a lot of common ground in this conversation, and it's very refreshing, especially, I'm going to bring this up, but, our country just went through, a transition of authority. We went through a presidential election, and there's been a lot of, heated feelings about that, whether you're on one side or another. I'm not. I mean, you can guess about like what side I voted for. I consider myself a conservative. Very traditional in a lot of my beliefs. I voted for who I thought is the more the biblically principle one to choose, and it's okay if you didn't whoever's watching this, or even whoever's on this show right now, whether you voted for one side or another, or maybe you just chose not to vote at all, that's fine. But right now we're living in a time where like I've seen so many people being like, I'm going to cut off all my friends and my family just because of like who they voted for and what they believe, like just like demonizing like one side or the other. And it's just like, this is not helpful. Like I saw someone post not too long ago be like, oh, I heard Trump say some terrible things, and so if you support him, like we're not friends. I'm cutting off everything from you. And it's like, what is that helping? Like, you may feel these strong feelings, but like knowing like John Cooper and the hosts of the Black Sheep Podcast, they were able to sit down and find common ground, and that's the most important thing. If we want to have a surviving society,
get off
we need
the
to
internet.
treat each other. Probably, I think we need to get an organization together and just turn off the internet. I mean, I would be out of a job, or I guess a hobby. It's not really a job, but
yeah,
I think getting rid of the internet might be better for a lot of people. But
yeah, I think we've brainwashed ourselves to the max.
Yeah, but
it's kind of like that Black Mirror episode that like it reminds me of, where it's like there's like people have this certain type of chip or switch in their head that changes the circumstances of their environment. What they think is what they're doing, what they're seeing, what they're encountering is actually something else. As scarred one character, he was doing his job and then realized what he was doing. He was like, oh, no. Okay. Hang on. I'm out.
Yeah, we're basically living in a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. For our country, like this wave of conversions that have been happening.
Yeah.
Because like even still, Orthodoxy is still a best kept secret in America, but it's becoming less of a best kept secret. So as more people are becoming more aware.
Yeah.
Of like, there's the truth. Here is the fullness of truth. Here's God, who we say He is good and lover of mankind, in our prayers as well. And that's the reality. God is always good. And as soon as more and more people are finding who God is, who He fully is, we are slowly going into a direction where perhaps there will be a nationwide repentance that we all need.
We'll all become Orthodox.
St. Paisios once said, "Surely one day America will be holy. For it is good to be of one mind." And like I said, I was previously a slight promoter of ecumenism until I realized what it actually was. In the bad way. The good sense of ecumenism is having good open dialogue, like we have every weekend.
Yeah. Every other weekend, at least.
Yeah. Because, like I said, humility, because like unity and love, unity should come from love and humility. That's like, okay, like my way, my interpretation isn't good. I want to follow the way. Required finds all of us, and in due time. Like I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. And lay it all to God to do the rest.
Yeah.
Help plant
That's all
some
you can
seeds.
do.
Help plant some seeds and keep working on me.
Yeah.
Because that's what we all need to do, really.
Work on yourself. Don't worry about other people. Just treat each other like human beings, no matter what their beliefs. I did want to close this off with something that I came across just the other day, and I mentioned this at the like before we recorded, but Drew Holcomb posted something on Instagram. You guys probably remember us talking about Drew Holcomb and his music before. I'm a fan, for the most part, of his music, but I also knew I have seen him post some political stuff on social media before, and I knew that we weren't like exactly in line with a lot of things. But I actually really respected this post. So it's a little long, so but I'm gonna get through it here. I had to take some. Oh, I'm just gonna pull it up on Instagram rather than uh, having to open up each screen. I screenshotted it just in case like he changed his mind and deleted it or something. But it seems that it's still up. So this was posted, just literally a day ago. So there is always attention for people in public positions like athletes, artists, writers, etc. when it comes to speaking up about political things. In my career, I have never shied away from speaking my point of view, but I also have not made it a core part of my public self. When I have spoken up, it has been on social media or in interviews, not on stage. On stage, I have hoped the music would speak for itself, and I always want to honor the hard-working dollars spent in the sacred space of a live show for unity and community. Nobody pays me anything to follow on socials, so it feels less sacred to me. However, I want our shows to be a place where everyone feels welcome, regardless of who they voted for. However, I am a person with a point of view, a story, and a platform for sharing that point of view to those interested in hearing it. If you have been following along for many years, you probably know some of my political persuasions as it relates to various topics. In early January 2020, after the Capitol insurrection, I spoke my mind in a way more direct than I had before, and I lost about 4,000 followers in one day. Whew. I do not regret it, but it did show me how much heat there is in America. This year I've been pretty quiet, as I know social media isn't real life. Amen. But now that the election has come and gone, I thought I could take a minute to share some things and perspective. I grew up in a pretty standard conservative evangelical Southern Christian home. Most everyone in my life was pretty openly and presumptively conservative in their politics, and it was presumed that I shared those ideas, and for the most part I did growing up. My parents were and are people with sincere and honest convictions, but other ideas were welcomed in our home, even if they did not line up with their own. I respected this open-mindedness even though most of my peers did not experience the same thing in their homes. Most of what I was taught growing up was about basic human decency, but tethered to the life and teachings of Jesus. Be kind to strangers, work hard, read your Bible, be strong and courageous, love mercy, walk humbly, assume the best about people, ask for forgiveness when you are wrong, forgive others when they are wrong, even if they don't ask for it, tell the truth. There are a pile of others, but you get the picture. Somewhere along the way, mainly in college, but probably beginning even earlier in high school, I fell in love with reading and I fell in love with travel. Over my high school, college, and early 20s, I read all the time and traveled all the time. I made friends with people who grew up differently than me. I have many dear friends from other countries and races. I have friends who are atheists and agnostics. I have beloved friends who are LGBTQ. I have friends who grew up rich and friends who grew up poor. Having friends from such different backgrounds from me changed my perspective on a host of things. Around that time, I also spent a season living in Scotland and traveling Europe. I was a part of a church in Scotland, and the leaders of the church were all from different political parties: conservative, liberal, socialist, and nationalist, all breaking bread in the same congregation. I had never experienced that sort of bipartisan love and friendship back home in America. Through all that travel, my years of reading history, theology, philosophy, and fiction, and through the various friendships made, my political beliefs changed. I still respected where I came from, but I saw things differently. In the years since, I have always enjoyed the respectful, but playful, and sometimes animated and heated, discussions with my more conservative friends about tax policy, immigration reform, foreign policy commitments, the death penalty, abortion, gun reform and the Second Amendment, and all sorts of other subjects. In those conversations, I never felt like I was anyone's enemy, and I certainly didn't see them as mine. In the last 8 years, the political temperature became hot beyond a temperature most of us have ever experienced. The rise of Trump, alongside the explosion of social media and the decline of traditional media, has brought fissures to families, friends, and communities in devastating ways. I certainly do not lay all the blame at Trump's feet. There are macro forces at play in the global economy and culture, and the political left certainly has a pile of culpability in the division we experience, with the airs of moral superiority and the sidelining of more moderate voices on a whole host of issues. I can understand why people voted for him, but what will remain a mystery to me is the outright celebration of him as a hero and the cult of personality around him. He breaks almost all the rules of those things I was taught in my youth about how to behave as a human and especially as a man. Love your enemies, bless those who persecute you, do not fear. Be a good loser and tell the other team congratulations when you lose. Don't cheat on your wife, don't cheat on your taxes, don't cheat at golf, and that sacrifice is more important than self-preservation. For posterity to my own children, I want to again publish my public opposition to him and say I am sad that he is the fairly elected president of my beloved home. I say all this to say, I know many of you feel the same way, and I'm here to say, me too. I also know many of you disagree with me and are glad he won. I love you and respect you, even though I don't agree with you. I hope you feel the same. I believe it is fine to fight like hell for the things you believe in, but let's remember the humanity of folks with a different point of view. If we see things differently, you are not my enemy, and I am not yours. We all have our own unique stories that shape how we see the world, how we see its problems and solutions, and we want similar things. We want the people we love to thrive. We want a world where our children can find a place for themselves. Music has always been a place of healing for me. It has often been a place where I have worked out my struggle of faith or how to make sense of the difficulty of life. I want my songs to find people in their lowest places and their best places and to soundtrack those moments. For many years, I have been honored by your stories of how our music has done exactly that. When I get those notes, I don't know who you voted for, but I know that your life has probably been a series of both glorious triumph and devastating tragedy, because that is what happens when you are a human. So I'm going to keep doing that regardless of who is running the show. I love you guys, Drew. So, sorry, that was a lot, but, we lost Nick's camera. Are you still there, Nick? Well, we lost Nick, I guess. Sorry, I was reading, so I wasn't paying attention to the camera or anything. So we'll just keep going. But I thought, just hearing that, I think wraps up a lot of what. I mean, obviously, with a lot of the things he said, I find myself on the other side than him. But with that post, he is reaching across the line, to hold hands with people that he doesn't believe. And it seems that was how he was raised. And somehow that just seems like a radical thing to say these days. We're so divided, and we villainize each other just because we don't believe the same things, whether religiously or politically or whatever. So I have a lot of respect for what he said, and I think more people should be like that. More people should have that opinion. Okay, Nick's back. Nick, you got bored and you got food?
I was listening the whole time.
Okay.
I was listening.
Gosh.
Don't worry.
Okay.
So anyway.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, yeah, so
here, have some.
Anyways. Oh, I wish. After this, I'll definitely be getting some lunch, but yeah, all that to say, we don't have to linger too long on that. I just thought that was a nice way to kind of conclude it all. Obviously, me and Drew have different opinions on certain things, but at least I know that, as opposed to other celebrities who have, more left-leaning positions, he doesn't. I don't feel like he hates me, just because I believe a certain way or vote a certain way. And I have so much respect for him, and I have so much respect for the guys on Black Sheep Podcast, even though I did not expect them to be like that. And I have so much respect for John for that. So, yeah, any closing thoughts on that, guys?
Because remember, at the end of the day, well, most people don't know it. When I say most, I mean the population. Our enemy is not the flesh, but the devil himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He'll use people to attack us and each other.
Even though right. Even though there would be people who would disagree and be like, "No, Satan is our Messiah." You know? At that point, you can be like, "All right, we do not have anything in common."
Yeah.
Which I will clarify. I think that there does get a point where some people can get so far where it's like, "All right, there's nothing there. You're just a bad person," you know. But you have to be grounded and realistic about that, you know, because like not everyone who's right wing is a Nazi, and not everyone who's left wing is a communist. You know, just be realistic. And is one of the things that Jordan Peterson has said. Always assume that the person you are talking to knows something that you don't. And I think that just goes along the lines of like always assume the best of people until they prove you wrong. Obviously.
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, I do my best not to try to get looped into those titles or labels in pretty much anything. Like outside of being labeled as a Christian, even that is like some scrutiny. Like, okay, what do you mean by Christian? Because everyone has different opinions on what qualifies to be a Christian, but pretty much don't want to get sucked into one side because I know the other side has a reason and a purpose for why they believe in their experience. So getting to understand each other, no matter what your position in life is, and always just referencing back to Jesus Christ and what he said in the Bible, and just being led by the Holy Spirit. It was interesting also learning that John Cooper was a charismatic. Should I known, but traditional charismatic is it's very cool.
See, there's another person in my camp.
I should have seen that coming.
Imagine jumping next to John Cooper in church; it would be so cool. Like, but yeah, it makes so much sense.
You hear him speaking in tongues.
Oh yeah, it's like oh yeah, doing that growl, how raspy, speaking in tongues.
Oh no, I'm not
doing it in his singing voice.
Oh man, that would be so cool. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, all right. But yeah,
Nick
it was
disapproves.
at the end, great time. So grateful for the interview. Pray for everyone involved, and I definitely followed Black Sheep now because the huge respect I got for them. But yeah, just see what they got.
Yeah, still, much respect to everyone on both sides. Well done on that interview. Yeah, it was more like that. And also, I'll close with saying, Derek Webb, the invitation is still open if you want to be on the show, and we'll talk things out. Cool. So yeah, I would highly recommend you guys check out that interview with John Cooper. I mean, check out the Black Sheep Podcast if you're just interested in, because they interview artists mostly from like, you know, the alternative, you know, music scene. A lot of like Tooth and Nail guys. They've had Josh Porter from Showbread on, who I've had on the show. They had I think they had John Van Deusen on. They also had, you know, obviously Aaron Stone. We talked about that episode. So if you like a lot of what we talk about here, you might enjoy what they do over there. So yeah. Also, I mean, I guess the invitation is open to those guys if they ever want to be on the show and talk about stuff. Yeah. I mean, apparently JP knows them, kind of like he's ran into them at festivals and such. So yeah, hit us up. Cool. All right. Well, enough of all the spicy conversations. I feel like with this show, we kind of have to balance things out. Like one episode, we talk about all fun stuff, all just music, and oh boy,
We're losing.
I hope I. Oh great!
Oh, here we go again.
We're losing him.
Gosh dang it!
Oh no. Do you think we should say it for him?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead and introduce the segment.
Now we're about to walk into my humble opinion. Well, really, Clifford's humble opinion. Oh, there he goes. So we should be starting off with, I believe, the Van Deusen album. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anthem. Anthem Sprinter from John Van Deusen. What do you think, Nick? What do you think about the album?
That was a fun time. It was a real. It was like. What was my thoughts? I thought it was like. It was a real journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From one place to another place.
Mm-hmm. The song tribute.
And then I broke. Yeah. I broke my own tradition of listening through all the songs, no rewinds, but just hearing Fade Away.
Yep. Yeah.
Was on the track, so I was like, okay, I'm sorry to myself. I gotta rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
It's so painting, so good.
Yeah.
Beautiful message.
Yeah. I love that was the song Before You Fade Away. That was a song I'm like, ooh, I like that one. And then ending with Tribute Shed made sense because we first listened to it as a single. So having that be the ending, I'm like, okay, it comes together. So yeah, I actually really like this album by him. My Regret is a Pit was probably my second. No, Why Do You Love Me was my second favorite. Hopefully Clifford comes back soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, Before You Fade Away was my main one, and then Why Do You Love Me was the second favorite album.
I forgot how it went, but I did like that one too.
Yeah, it was very good job, John. Very good job.
Yeah, like when he published that 6-minute song as a single, I wasn't hooked onto it.
No.
That's good, but like you said, once we heard it as the ending track, I'm like, okay, now I understand where this is going.
Yeah.
So he probably could have promoted a different song.
Yeah, if he promoted that the Fade Away song, Before You Fade Away, or even DD, I probably would have been a little bit more upbeat for it, but it was a nice surprise. So I guess he knew what he was doing. So I gave it to him. But yeah, it was very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Right. Then I forgot what the Half-Life album was called.
It
dropped yesterday.
Yeah, it was called. It was just a single from Half-Life songs, but the album was dropped. Half-Life.
What was it called?
Persona. Yeah.
Persona. Yeah. So that dropped. Did you get a chance to listen to the whole album, or
I did.
Just at least one of the.
Yeah. When I saw the whole album, I just went on to listen to it. I didn't care for the songs by that much, but the rest of the album I did like. I did like Automatic and then Bleed It Out. It was cool. It was cool. But songs itself, I like the feature on it. But I'll probably grow into it after like 5 more listens or so. But yeah, it was cool.
I had fun. That was fun album.
Yeah,
so that's gonna.
It was very creative.
That's already. That's our. I was already listening to it again a little bit this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Let my mom hear my homework assignments that I was doing that I had for this week. She's like, "Oh yeah, I can see why you like that." I was like, "Yeah." So like my friend, and I realized it was two, and I realized it was like two of my friends, one of my dance friends, and Clifford.
Mm-hmm.
They introduced me to Half-Life. She spun one of her songs from one of their earlier albums on the car queue, and then when Clifford shared with us Sophie's House, I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, let's go to Sophie's house." But also Dio, my mom also liked it, and I also like the two monster mascots that they have.
Yeah.
In their music video and on their album cover, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, yeah. My comment is they are adorable. Oh.
Let's see. Then we had the EP by SOWER. I really like this EP. Like, first,
I digged it too.
First, I like the whole concept with the names and his name, the sea creation. But Redemption and Fall were my two favorite songs out of this EP. I like the whole EP, but I was like, okay, Fall and Redemption. Yeah. That was nice.
Yeah. Restorate. What was it? What was the last?
Restoration.
Was the last song called Restoration?
Yeah.
Yeah. I dug it, but like from a mute. Oh, excuse me. A second. So there's like some like for me sometimes there's a musicality pace.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like music acts have to keep conscious of, like if they're gonna do a very long song. Sometimes like I keep comparing that song in my head to Take Me Back to Eden by a Sleep Token. I was like, that's a near 9-minute song, and they've stretched it out. So it's like the structure of it plays. The structure of it is still like a long stretched regular 3-minute song structure.
Mm-hmm.
First chorus, blah 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 blah. So I was like, they took their time with it, and then and it's just a tempo thing, really.
Yeah.
I was like, you can do so much with the tempo. Like you can do so much with the tempo of the song. But they also require you just like changing it up in various different places. Like I can say, almost every single orchestral piece. It's gonna be long. But regardless of that, I can say overall, as an EP, I think that was a near best elevator pitch of like what the gospel is.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Nearly good, because like we know where I'm at right now. So like
Clifford.
With what they got. Yeah.
Oh great.
Sorry,
yeah.
You missed us. You missed us geeking about Half-Life. So we'll get you.
Oh, the game.
Now we're gonna get him. Yeah. Now we'll get you up to speed. What did you think of John Van Deusen's album?
Yeah.
Oh, Half Alive. I thought you said Half-Life, like the game.
Oh no,
Half-Alive. Yeah. Okay. We just got done with her, so tell us about John and then Half-Life.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys are just running the show without me, aren't you?
We were too excited. Okay, I think this is the first time I liked every single song option that we had to listen to. So it was.
Nice.
Like,
yeah. Okay. Well, so you guys talked about John Van Deusen first.
Yeah. We can go back over if you need us to.
I'll just go ahead and share a little bit about my thoughts on Anthem Sprinter. I have been enjoying John Van Deusen for a long time, like ever since I Am Origami Part 3 came out, and I've been following him ever since. Listened to his previous albums, and um, Anthem Sprinter is an interesting release because he mentioned it on my conversation with him, and he mentioned it on his interview on JFH podcast, that all these songs that were written basically before he ever had a solo career. So it was like before his first album. He had a band called The Lonely Forest, and I think a lot of these songs are written around that time or maybe even before. So a lot of these, pretty much all these songs come from that perspective of when he was that age, and he's stated that he's gone through a lot of changes since then, and so not all these songs really represent like what he believes now, but so that makes it an interesting release, and I don't I don't have anything bad to say about this album personally. I think it's a really good album. I don't think that John Van Deusen is really capable of making anything bad. But personally, I think this isn't my favorite album from him. Which isn't to say anything bad about it. I still really like it, and I loved a lot of the singles. But and I guess this is just a matter of opinion. I think this album is just going to have to grow on me. I think it's definitely a grower of an album. There's a lot that I like about it. I loved a lot of the singles. Of course, I love Comeback Wrecker and Before You Fade Away, even Trebuchet. But I don't know why, but it's more of like an emotional connection for me, and I think it does have a lot to do with the fact that he wrote this so long ago, and I've I guess heard him progress through his music, and through his lyricism, and I guess that's why I just don't really find myself emotionally attached to this album that much. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't really have any like expert critical opinion on as to why, but yeah, I don't know. I do like it. um a lot of these songs are quite the jam. I do love the energy of it because it's very reminiscent of I Am Origami Part 1 and Part 3, that have just that a lot of punk rock kind of energy behind it. Um, but oh, we lost Nick. We're just losing this episode is just for the birds. Oh, he's back. um, so yeah, I don't know. I think this album is going to take some time for it to really grow on me. Um, but I guess what was your, just to summarize you guys' opinion of it?
Honestly, for me, this is probably my best John Van Deusen. With you bringing that he wrote this so long ago, I wonder if I like him more because as a younger man, I can relate to it better. Um,
Oh, sure.
but it, I remember when we listened to the Trebuchet single, I didn't really care for it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but listen to the whole album. It, Nick and I were saying it makes sense in the order that
Yeah,
of he plays it.
it's interesting that he released the closer of the album
Yeah,
as a single.
yeah, um,
Which it works well as a closer.
yeah.
I
It
do
does.
really
It
like
makes
that
total
song.
sense now. I thought it was gonna be
Yeah.
like one of the second or third song on the album, and I was worried. But
Yeah.
being the closer, it makes so much sense. Um, Nick and I both said we love "Before You Fade Away." That
Yeah,
was, I
that is
guess
one of my
everyone loved
favorites.
that song the most. I like "Why Do You Love Me" as number two. But yeah,
Yeah,
so I
that
think
one's a really good one too.
I think just I think I relate to it more lyrically and sound wise because I'm not as invested in John Van Dusen as you, JP, maybe Nick. So because before you, I didn't really know about John Van Deusen, so I'm kind of coming in on the tail end. So going back to the beginning, I think I just liked it a little bit more. But yeah, so far this is my favorite by John Van Deusen that I that I've heard. So
yeah, I totally get that. I guess my problem is that like I think my favorite from him so far was his last the album before this, I Am Origami Part 4 Marathon Days. It just seemed like it's a really mature album that has a lot of different dynamics, and it shows both the soft side of John, and also like it has a lot of good jams on there as well. So that to me right now is kind of his peak, and so it kind of feels like this one is just a little less so. So I guess that's what happens when you like you're watching a movie franchise, and like the one movie is like, oh man, this is so good, and then they come out with a sequel that's like, it's fine, but it doesn't really live up to this one, and so like that kind of feeling of disappointment is kind of there,
yeah, I get
not
you.
to say that not to say that I'm disappointed in this album at all, but I think it's gonna take some time to grow on me. I mean,
Yeah,
there's definitely there's been plenty of albums from different artists that at first I didn't really care for. Like a good example is "Much Afraid" by Jars of Clay.
yeah,
That one has become my favorite from them, but before I didn't really care about it so much.
yeah, yeah.
So it could be the same thing for Anthem Splitter. I definitely recommend people check it out, especially if you haven't heard John Van Deusen. I think that this is a good entry point because it's kind of spiritually his first album, even though it's not. So yeah. Did you have more positive things about it, Nick? Just to kind of summarize.
Nope, that was pretty much it. It was a. Wait, sorry.
You're good.
Oh, I'm so. Oh, I thought I still had it on mute. No, I was trying to say that. Yeah, it was a fun time. Listening through it.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Where did you go? Your radio is driving me home.
I had a lot more fun with the Half-Life album.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Half Alive. This is a very fresh take because this album literally only came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Which I don't normally do because like there's so much preparation that I have to do for the show that like if an album or music is coming out the day before, it's like, oh well, then we'll just cover this in the next episode. But we were originally going to cover the last single that they released, and then Nick was like, well, this is coming out the day before we record, so like you know what, okay, yeah, that's fine. So my feelings are very fresh on this album, but I've really been enjoying it. It's a lot of fun as a longtime Half Alive fan at this point. I think that so far that the singles are my favorite tracks, but since I haven't given this album a whole lot of time, there are some tracks that I've really been enjoying, like People, Long Drive, Lie Lie, The Point. Those are all some like really great songs. So I think I'm going to love this song the more that I listen to it. But man, nothing that I've really said about that I haven't said about Half Alive before, but they just have such a fun way of like, I love their production style, like all the different sounds that they do. I like something I never really noticed before, but like I love a lot of the effects that they give the lead vocalist. They get really fun and experimental with it, and I love that. And one thing that I really appreciate about Half Alive, like listening to this album, I realized that while every track is like a bop and like very upbeat and fun, they still have a way to like bring some sincerity to their songs. Like no matter how upbeat and danceable the song is, like the way that he sings and the lyricism, it just seems so sincere. Like they're not just singing about partying, and like very surface level stuff, but like there's some deep stuff in there. And I was actually very appreciative. They even covered some Christian aspects, and he went into aspects of his faith, which is always cool to hear because Half Alive is a bit more. They have that mainstream success, so they're one of those bands that their faith isn't the most upfront thing about their music, but it's always good to hear them like go back to that and talk about that. So yeah, I still think that my favorite song is probably either Sophie's House or Automatic, but a lot of these other songs are really growing on me. So yeah, thumbs up from me on Persona. Was that you guys' overall feelings? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've converted you.
I'll give you all my love, all my love, all my love. I'll give you all my love, all my.
Cool. So, well, you guys already did. You guys share all your feelings on Persona,
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
And we just got done talking about the SOWER album
Yeah.
EP.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys did that one too? Gosh dang it.
Yeah,
telling
that's
you,
how long it took you.
See, we were
This will
so
be an
excited.
interesting one to edit.
We were so excited.
Yeah, but
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So, what were you guys' feelings on that? Just
Loved
you
it.
don't have to repeat yourself.
Loved
Loved it.
oh yeah,
Cool.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fall.
I sure.
Fall was perfect. I like the theme that he keeps with his name, the title of the album, the title of the songs. It was nice. A nice 22 minutes of songs. Love it.
Yeah, that's basically like all of his releases. Is they all have biblical themes, and this one is all about. I guess it's summarized perfectly in the last track's title is Restoration, because it talks about the beginning, and then in the fall, and then the redemption and the restoration that we as believers go through. And I'm very new to SOWER. Why did I say SOWER? SOWER. I started hearing whispers of him through the guys in JFH, and then he actually reached out to me personally. His name is oh man, I had his name written down. It's Eric. Eric Huffman, I think. I know it's Eric at least. But he reached out to me personally. He's like, "Hey, check out my music." And then we covered the one single not too long ago.
Toughest down.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Sorry, Eric, if you're listening to this. But so yeah, I'm very, very new to his stuff, and just listening to it just kind of blew me away. Like the first thing that jumped out at me was just the quality of his songs. Like he does it all himself. He's a one-man band. Well, at least I think all himself. Like that's speculation, but I'm pretty sure he does all the instruments and such. He at least does a lot of the writing, but it's the kind of it's got that punk indie vibe that I really like. It's very clean, and still very fun. But one of the things that obviously stands out to you is just the lyricism. It's very, founded in scripture and very poetic, and yeah. So and also just very, very encouraging to listen to, and the lyrics are definitely complemented by the power of the music behind it. So
his hashtag on Spotify.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, his hashtag on Spotify is biblical indie rock. So
yeah,
that sums it up. That sums it up.
Yeah, pretty
He's
much.
also an evangelist, so
even though he
yeah.
he even I'd say it definitely pushes towards like more of a punk sound, and I like it.
Yeah.
Just the layered guitars and everything, they sound so good, and his voice as well. Yeah, so we're fans, Eric. Yeah, definitely check out his the new EP, The Seed by SOWER. Okay, so if we're done with that,
All right,
lastly,
now that we're all
we're
here,
going to that now that we're all here for now, we've got which I guess, speaking of Half Alive, Paul Meany, who I think he
No,
produced
not
their
again.
first album,
oh,
and he also
So close.
Are you
Wait,
serious? Am I here? Am I back?
Yes, you're here. Okay,
Am I
let's
here?
hurry. Let's get this.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Let's hurry. And then we still got to do the bonus tracks too.
Oh no!
All right. So, new track from Paul Meany, producer for Mute. Formerly from Mute Math, producer for 21 Pilots and Half Alive and a bunch of other acts. He's doing more solo stuff, and this is his latest song, "Fear on Your Side," and I think it's about
that's
me personally.
Oh
Yeah, that's him. It's a bop. One other thing to know about Paul Meany, about his history, is that he was also in this very unfortunately short-lived band called Earthsuit. They had a couple big songs in like the late 90s, One Time and White Horse. That was his first band, and this track kind of reminds me of that. Like, the chord progression in this song is very interesting, and it's very it's dark, and it like kind of goes different places, and so it's kind of fun to hear that he still kind of has that side to him, and I really like it because it's all about how, like, just like pushing for your dreams, like no matter what the opposition. And Fear on Your Side is basically referring to, like, it's good to have that fear to drive you. It's like, oh, what if this doesn't work out? Well, we'll just keep going, And so I really like that message. So it's pretty simple, It's kind of got this sort of like hip hop sort of influence to it, and his vocals sound great. I've always loved Paul's voice, but Josh, what were your thoughts on this?
This
track?
song made me realize how much I miss Mute Math and their sound.
Right?
I was like, cause I remember following him, and because I follow Mute Math, so I ended up following him. But it's been a while since I heard the song. So when I heard this song, I was like, Mute Math, I miss you so much.
Right?
But
I
yeah,
know, right?
I love the song. I can't wait for more music from him.
Yeah.
They like, I think I said to you guys before, like, when I found out that they did one of the remixes for Toby Mac, and Toby Mac actually put Mute Math on the map, it was just like they have just a deeper nostalgia, and just place my heart music wise, creative. So I'm glad he's at least still producing music, and that also makes sense that he works with 21 Pilots. I'm like, okay, that's where that sound coming from. So it's like, I love connecting the dots in this show. You helped me find that, so I'm glad that I found the song. So
yeah, and I actually have a little bit of a history, kind of like connection with Mute Math, because church I went to here in town, First Assembly of God, there's a older gentleman who was a very great vocalist. Kurt Gummerman kind of trained me a little bit with some things, and his son, Todd Gummerman, actually joined Mute Math as their guitarist after their album Odd Soul at that point. And he was there until the end. And Todd Gummerman actually has been I don't know how consistently, but he has been touring with 21 Pilots as a touring guitarist.
Nice.
So and keyboardist as well, I think. Yeah, so like I know a former member of Mute Math and a touring member of 21 Pilots' dad. In fact, I did actually meet Todd like once, like very briefly. He like came to visit the church. He wouldn't remember me though. So, but I remember him like looking all smart. He had like this nice jacket, you know. I was like, oh man, this is a real rock and roll star. So yeah, shout out to Kurt Gummerman and Todd Gummerman. But yeah, this track definitely harkens back to some old school Mute Math and Earthsuit, like I said. But and yeah, it's fun that you mentioned that Toby Mac remix. I always thought that's probably the best remix on that album.
Oh, totally.
Especially when Paul like he sings on it himself. He's like, "Yeah, I got a ticket to ride."
Yeah.
It's so good. Okay, Nick, thoughts on this track?
Yep, I thought that was good too, but I was trying to listen to it a little bit again before the show, before we started recording, and I honestly forgot how it went.
Oh. That's okay.
I hate that.
You were talking about Earthsuit. I just looked them up on Spotify. They still got 6.5 thousand followers, monthly listeners. So
really,
from 2000,
dedicated fan base.
Yeah, like that's
yeah. They had like one album.
Yeah,
they had like one album, and then they were done. And so, but you know, then we got Mute Math out of that.
Yeah,
so
I'll take it.
Yeah. But yeah, I get you, Nick. Sometimes I do go into reviews and be like, I don't really exactly remember how it went, but I wrote down notes, so that's a good thing. Sometimes that's just kind of the downside to like listening to music like right before you do a review. But otherwise, that was a thumbs up from you, Nick.
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, this is a strong, even though I had some personal opinions about some of the releases, it's all good. Like everything that we talked about today, I do love, and I think that I'm going to love more as time goes by. So. Sorry. Dry throat.
Cough court.
Yeah. This Podwood Forecast reference. All right, so I guess that'll do it for my humble opinion and Josh and Nick's humble opinion. I guess we'll close this off. But you know, for those of you, remember patreon.com/I'm Clifford today. We're going to attempt, as long as people have time. I know we're getting close to lunchtime, but there's going to be a bonus tracks, so check it out. There'll be a link in the description to check that out. Yeah, so before we go, also just a reminder, check out my Cliff's Picks playlist on Spotify. Everything we talked about, in my humble opinion, there will be one track from each of those for you guys to go listen to, so check that out. In terms of the next episode, and I haven't talked to you guys about this, so usually what I do is that I take a break from the show for the holidays, like for the month of December, and because I have to do a lot of preparation because we've got the top 10 lists coming up, so I usually kind of take that time to prepare for that. But I wanted to do one final episode for the year, and it's going to be a Christmas special. And I think that this will be fun. I wanted to talk about a particular album that I grew up listening to. We had a cassette tape copy of it. And it's another one of those like kind of lost albums. It's not available on streaming anywhere. You can't really purchase it on iTunes or anything. The only place it's available right now is You can buy the CD like from anywhere from $30 to like a couple $100 because it's like pretty rare. Or it's like available on YouTube, and that's basically how we'll be listening to it. It is a compilation hip hop Christmas album called Yo Ho Ho. Are either of you guys? So Josh is familiar with that.
Yeah.
Nick's just laughing at the title.
Yeah.
What?
It's a thing. It's a real thing. It's called Yo Ho Ho, and I think it was released by Forefront Records. Yeah, it's great.
Yes.
It's an early '90s Christian hip hop Christmas album, and it's basically kind of almost taken over by DC Talk. There's a lot of DC Talk tracks on it, but it is also a bunch of other like hip hop acts on it, and it's all Christmas music. And so I wanted to talk about that album. I wanted us to go through each track. I'm dying.
Cough course. Bless you.
Yep. Cough course. Thank you. So yeah, I think that would be a fun episode. If you guys are down, we'll see if JP is down. You don't have to be familiar with it at all. I'm going to send you guys the playlist on YouTube for you guys to listen to. It's going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of cheese because it's 90s hip hop, Christian hip hop. But I think there's some legitimately good stuff on there, especially the DC Talk tracks. Like the title track, I think is great. Yo ho, Yo ho ho is great.
Yes.
So that's what you can expect for the next episode. The Christmas hip hop album that you never heard of. So yeah, cool. I'm excited. Hope you guys are too. Do you remember ever listening to it, Josh?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
When you
Yeah,
said
it
you
was
couldn't
kind of
find it, and then when you said yo, I'm like, I already know. All right.
Yo ho ho.
Yeah, this is gonna be a whole nother word for me.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we got to mix it up because we've talked a lot about like heavy metal and hard rock lately. We got to cover all the aspects of Christian music.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this will be fun. So cool. All right. Well, I think. And another thing, video that I've been working on. Last weekend, I recorded a video of me talking about Fine Arts Festival, which is a very Nick, you'd know about that. It's a very like Assemblies of God exclusive thing, but you'll just have to watch the video when it's out. Like if you know nothing about fine arts, it's actually it's got some interesting things attached to it, and so I think it's an interesting topic for a video. So it'll be a very simple video. I just kind of sat down where I am now and talked to the camera, and there'll be some editing and such. So I didn't go like all out there with it like some of my previous videos. Like I didn't go out and drive into the woods and film it. I just wanted something simple and fun. So hopefully it'll be good. I got to start editing on that. So that'll be out when it's out, and I'll keep you guys updated on it. So I just needed something. I needed something small to work on because I haven't been very motivated to work on a lot of my bigger projects. So yeah. That's that, and I think that's it. Remember, patreon.com/I'm Clifford today. And any closing thoughts, Nick or Josh? Nope. Okay.
Have a good Thanksgiving, y'all. If we don't have a show.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you. Next episode will be out like first week of December, and then we'll be done for a little bit. So. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys take care, and I hope your internet stays connected today.
Yep.
Bye.
Doo-doo-doo.
Hey, this is Stephen Christian from Amberlin. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like, and also feel free to subscribe to I'm Clifford Today. For those of you listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating and a review. Also, be sure to check out Clifford's Clips and Highlights channel. I'm Clifford Today. If you want to hear more from Clifford, check out his other podcast, Podwood Forecast. And there's always t-shirts and other merch you can buy, so be sure to take a look at that. There are links to everything in the episode description, so thanks for stopping by. And remember, he's Clifford today, and you're not.